All right, it actually worked this time. we got the intro working. This is a very, very low budget production, ladies and gentlemen. We do everything ourselves. Jeremiah is the musical genius behind our custom theme song, and we actually have an updated version this time. So I hope you appreciated that. And I actually got it working. So I think we got that right, and I'm seeing in the sort of mirror view here in the dashboard that everyone's coming in loud and clear on camera. So thank you for joining us. You're listening to or watching episode 3 of the Coin Jam podcast. Third time's a charm. We're doing something special this time. For our first time ever, we have a special guest co-host, Steve Laity. You'll hear all about him and hear from him in a little bit. We've got folks trickling in right now. What's up to Frog Puppet? Yeah, so we got a very, very, I think, interesting show for you today. We're going to do all the normal sort of banter, all the updates, all the typical stuff that we talk about. And then we're going to talk to Steve for a little bit about a sordid tale of woe, perhaps, that he has to share, a cautionary tale. Really interested to hear what he has to say. Something that's been discussed quite a bit on the Claw forums, a little bit on Facebook, but something that should be interesting to you all. So quick intro. So I'm Charlie from Overtime Arcade on YouTube. As always, my reliable, always here co-host, Jeremiah from Coin Op Corner. We've got Liam from Retrobotics, the one and only Kay from Prime Arcade. And again, Steve Laity, who goes by Katru311, and his YouTube channel is called Mosaic Arcade. Hello to Les, hello to Rob. Why don't we get this show on the road? So a couple of things that we normally talk about on this podcast, which is all about coin op amusement machines, everything from classic arcade video games of the 80s and 90s and more, to pinball machines of all eras, and even more sort of I don't know if esoteric is the right word, but something, things that are maybe outside of the normal kind of collector focus areas, things like redemption machines, claw machines, jukeboxes, change machines, all kinds of different coin op equipment, and that's what we're our focus on. All of us, including Steve, likes to not just collect and play these games, but we restore them too. And there goes Liam. I'm sure he'll be joining us in a little bit. We all have a lot of fun bringing these games back to life. Sometimes from well beyond the grave. Working on the electronics, the cosmetics, the cabinets, all of that kind of stuff, the mechanical stuff, everything. So,
like how you just talked about how reliable we all are. We already lost one.
Well, I mean, yeah. So, yeah, I'm sure he's probably sending us something, panicky in Discord. Yeah, and he's having some connection issues, but he'll join us in just a moment. So let's see if we have any smart alecky. Hey, Darren, what's up? Thanks for joining. Yeah, so why don't we get it started? Some of the stuff that we normally talk about, because the four of us plus Steve spend so much time working on this stuff. We like talking about recent pickups and any game room updates. My background's a little bit different than last time. So Jeremiah, why don't you go first? Any pickups recently? Any game room updates, that sort of thing?
I haven't gotten any more games since the last episode. Like I said in the last episode, I'm supposed to be done, but That very nice cocktail claw machine kind of ruined that for me. But I've been working on that, doing some stuff to it. As you can see, I plopped some casters on it so I can roll it around. And I've been working on a video about that. It would have been done today, but the water line that feeds my house busted, and I only found out when we got the $400 water bill. So that's what I was doing today. Otherwise, there'd be a new episode. So I did some work on the claw machine. Nothing much else in the game room this month.
Cool. We'll look forward to that video soon. Kay, how about you? Any pickups lately?
So the last thing to come into my shop is a Guitar Hero Arcade, which used to be mine. I actually bought it from Chucky when they were pulling them out of the stores, and they were going to send them to their Topeka warehouse, and they were probably going to sit there for 30 years until they finally went to auction somewhere. But I ended up buying it before they were shipped it back and kept it for a little while, enjoyed it, ended up selling it, and it made its way back to me just last week. And I had to repair it for the guy, and I've already sold it again. So I've been enjoying it while it's at the shop, but next week it's going to be right back on its way out.
So you've got that and the drum machine. What's the drum machine called?
The Drum Mania. The Drum Mania is at home. The Guitar Hero is just in the shop.
So can you combine those things, figure some way to link them together and have an entire band?
There are, those are different series, so not with these two, but there is a guitar component to that Drum Mania that you can match together and have linked and have people play together, two guitars and a drum set together.
And Steve, we know you. Maybe some of the audience will know you from the Claw forums and from Twitter. I think you were posting some stuff recently, some games that you had picked up, and also I think something today that's on its way to you.
The stuff I posted today was really just rearranging my arcade, but I did recently, there was a really nice crazy taxi that popped up on Facebook, and I just kind of impulse bought that, for better or worse. And so I've got that coming, but actually I've got like 4 or 5 games that have been coming for like a year because I've bought them from other collectors, and they've promised to bring them to me. I'm in no rush. So I've always got like a steady stream of stuff coming, and unfortunately I keep adding to it. So, and then that's why I got to rearrange the arcade and find space for all this stuff.
You got to start stacking them too deep.
Dude, I've already sold stuff that I wish I hadn't. It becomes this endless cycle of stuff coming in and out, and you kind of just like the Guitar Hero thing. You kind of want to try everything, and some of these games, when you get them, you don't. You know what? They're not great for having in your home. They were great in the arcades. You have great nostalgia for them, but when you have them, it's not what you think it would be.
I found that out the hard way with Gauntlet Dark Legacy. Once you take the coin op aspect of it away, there's no challenge to it, and it's just a slog.
I agree with you on Dark Legacy, but you can pry my Gauntlet from my cold dead hands.
I had them both, and I sold the Dark Legacy because I didn't honestly know anything about arcades at the time, how to fix them, and I just sold it. And then I got the original Gauntlet, same thing. Like once you realize that you just keep pumping quarters, you're just holding attack and walking through. Love the game, classic, but
for a long time, Gauntlet, we actually had that on quarters. It was the only game that we had in our arcade that would use quarters. And now I've got it set up so that there are buttons above each coin slot, but there's a toggle switch that turns it back to quarters if I feel like putting the coin bucket out. I use Gauntlet as a piggy bank. Any quarter I get, it goes into Gauntlet.
That's the way to do it, man.
So for Gauntlet, is there no way when it's on free play to extend your life?
Free play on Gauntlet just gives you I think it's like 2 credits worth. Wow. And that's what you get.
Wow. Okay. And again, Steve, for those of you that or for those of the audience that doesn't know you, you're in the Vegas area, right? So a little bit earlier for you than us.
Yeah, I'm in Las Vegas. So it's 5 p.m. for me.
Yeah. Well, thanks for spending your late Saturday afternoon with us. And it must be getting hot there. So I don't know if that means the end of the garage arcade season or what.
Yeah, so I'm spread across 2 garages, one in my family's and then one in my personal house. So I might investigate putting an air conditioner in my house. but yeah, it's almost the end of arcade season and pool season, which is, sad.
And it's funny because it's like for much of the rest of the company, it's starting to become garage, workshop season, right? It's,
Yeah.
most people don't have heated garages, so getting out there and working on monitors, working on cabinets, whatever. This is now the best time until it gets too hot. Liam, hopefully you've got your connection issues resolved. Thanks for rejoining us. I know when I do this, I unplug my kid's Xbox to make sure that
It's
they don't
part connection, part my computer likes to commit suicide on a regular basis, and there's no way to predict when that happens. Worked fine all day, committed suicide 4 minutes into a podcast. Just it knows when to push my buttons.
Well, and you've got some big changes coming up with a move, but in the meantime, any recent pickups, any big game room updates from your side?
Yeah, actually, since the last one, I think the big pickup has been I got with Sam, we picked up a complete but dead Atari Firefox, all original. It's in basically, aside from some sun damage fading on the right side of the cabinet, it's in museum condition, and it came with 3 Philips VP931 Laserdisc players, all of which were dead. And it has the original Amplifone Vaster monitor, which is also dead. Since we got it, I've got the game working. It's playable. You can hear it. If I'm using an additional monitor, you can see gameplay. I'm working currently on a hack with Havoc on Caleb to try to bring that raster back to life without getting a new flyback, since those do not exist. And I think I may have gotten one of the players to work. So it has to be reunited with the Firefox cabinet, since they're currently approximately 300 miles apart from each other. And then we'll see whether or not that brings it back to life. So that's exciting. The other exciting update is, as of last night, our Joust project, which was been in progress since August, is complete. The game works. It's put together. It looks beautiful. And if we weren't moving, I would put it in the game room. But for right now, it's just going to stay in the workshop, because there's no point in moving it through the house if I'm going to move it back through the house in 3 weeks anyway.
And ding up all the paint and knock connections loose and all that kind of stuff. So you're going to load up a U-Haul or something with all your games, right?
Yeah, the plan is 2 26-foot Penske liftgate trucks, 1 for the games and everything in the workshop, and 1 for the rest of the house.
And remember, my offer still stands to come help you unpack and move in, because you're going to be a little bit closer to me than
it's
you are
looking
now.
like early June is when we will be moving things up. And we've got a great place waiting for all the games. The new house is 6,000 square feet, of which 3 rooms are dedicated for arcade stuff. So we're going to put in black light carpet, and we're going to put in all the lights and things, and we'll put in a new fuse box before we move everything into that room. But I'm excited to actually get to mold the space.
I think, for a lot of people out there, you're describing a dream come true, but that involves a significant other who is just as into your hobbies as you are. So awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
That's
very
my
lucky to have Sam.
sole reason I want a new house is something like that. No garage, all inside.
There you
have
go.
to live in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
As for me, biggest pickup for me, and I didn't mention this in the last episode, and I just put the video out last weekend. I got those 2 mostly empty Qbert cabinets. So that was great. Those were, I was looking for a Qbert for quite a while. And despite, Qbert being one of the most highly produced and popular, games from the golden era, it just seems that there's not that many that pop up for sale. If it's a regional thing, or people that have them are so attached to them that they don't give them up. There was that one I think it was the Dallas auction, a restored Qbert went for 4,000 not too long ago. So the prices for that have been going crazy. So yeah, I got those two empty Qbert cabinets. One I'm definitely going to restore, trying to get it back to a all original Qbert, and the other one I'm still trying to decide what I'm going to do. I'm definitely going to have a J-Rock multi Milestar board in the second one, but going to figure out exactly what to do with the setup there. Game room updates wise, so Centipede is no longer in the lineup here. It's been replaced by Armor Attack, which I brought in from the house, and I've got two vectors back here, Tempest and Armor Attack, and my kids are actually enjoying it quite a bit, even though it's a black and white game. And my kids give me a hard time because I play games that aren't 3D. I think they like that it's two-player simultaneous, which is kind of rare for a vector, as is the sort of lack of a space theme. So Centipede is now in another room in the basement. This is kind of my office. There's a room we have set up basically as a playroom for the kids. So the Centipede's over there next to NBA Jam, because I brought that down from the garage as well. So both of these were working. The Armor Attack and the NBA Jam needed to be cleaned up a little bit and then brought down into the basement. And those are really the big things for me. I still have 4 more cabinets that I recently picked up that I need to do pickup videos for, but those are still in the works. So projects that you're currently working on, Liam, other than the Firefox and the Joust, what else you got cooking, if anything?
I've got a Smash TV in the garage. I need a board set for and a new control panel. It was converted to a golden T, which is crap. Unfortunately, I tried pulling the art the black paint off the sides, and one side came out great, but the other side, the paint had bonded to the underlayer, and part of it came off. So I'm not really sure what to do about fixing that. But that's a cool project. I still have the asteroids and the space shuttle in the workshop. No real progress there. Towards the end of the month, May, that is, Sam and I are picking up a millipede cocktail, which should be a fun little one, because we sold our Asteroids Deluxe cocktail a while back, so now we need another one.
Awesome. Kay, how about you? What's keeping you busy in the workshop these days?
So the last couple of machines I completed were a Galaga conversion and a Mispack conversion. Galaga was in a Kix cabinet, and Mispack was in a Stern Super Cobra. And I just finished the Mispack today and posted a video about it like 10-20 minutes before we started this, and sold it about 5 minutes later. So the Mispack and the Galaga are already sold. The deposit's already been put down on them. I'll be delivering them next week. I wish they all sold that quickly. They do not.
Like you got that Neo Geo that's been sitting for a while, huh?
I finally sold it. That one's gone. I'm not sure what I'm going to start on next. Probably just some repairs for some clients that have been sitting around for far too long. Probably should start on those. One thing I'm very excited about, which I don't want to speak too much on it because it hasn't happened yet, and I don't want to let it slip through my grasp, but there's a very small list of machines that I want to keep for myself, and one of them popped up about 2 hours away, and I keep trying to get the guy to send me some pictures, but he won't. So I might just have to get an address and show up and go find out, because it's something I want at a fairly reasonable price if it's in good condition. And based on the 2 pictures he posted, I mean, the left side and the back of it look okay, but I'd like to see the rest of it. So I might just have to make the trip and hope it's good and bring cash and take it with me if it is, and just walk away if it's not.
This is a complete Rockafire Explosion band.
If I never have to deal with any like animatronics again, I'm good with that. I maintained those for years. I'm done with them.
Well, I don't know if anybody saw what was going around, that I guess it was an April Fool's Day joke, and Jeremiah passed along to me, but I guess Chuck E. Cheese had a fake video on April Fool's Day that they were now offering wedding packages at all Chuck E. Cheese locations. So
yeah, I was
making all of your
that by
dreams
like
come true.
36 different people.
Yeah. And you could have worn the mouse costume and been the officiant marrying lucky couples.
Yeah, I mean, I've worn that costume plenty of times, but that's not something I did while I did it. So
Yep, we know you did too, Jeremiah. So what projects, again, I know you recently you were working on the cigarette machine, and like you said, the claw machine. What else you got cooking?
So it's kind of funny that it ends up happening this way. On our last episode of the podcast, I was about a day away from being done with the cigarette machine video. And now I'm a day away from being done with the next claw machine video. So I've been working on the claw machine to get it. It did work when I got it, but just making it a little nicer, putting LEDs in there, putting it on wheels and all, and fabricating a new prize ramp for it. So that's taken the most of my time. The next thing I plan on working on is and I think I've mentioned this on all 3 episodes of the podcast now, is the third Pac-Man board from my Pac-Man Trio restoration video. I've started working on the monitor for that, and I need to take a look at the board and figure out why I'm getting the same ROM error even after replacing all the ROMs in the RAM.
The 3-pack of packs.
Yep.
All of which I think you got from Cam out in Nashville, right?
Yeah, Cam. That's the only person from Clav I've ever met in person, and he I think he's about 4 hours away from me, but he actually gave me like a really good deal on a meeting halfway. So yeah, I bought all 3 of those from Cameron.
Very nice. Yeah, I was chatting with him recently. Steve, I know Retro Ralph is working on a Moonwalker. Were you working on a Moonwalker too recently?
No, there's that FOMO feeling. Ralph and Nick Madsen both got Moonwalker cabinets. Yeah, and there's that one that popped up on Clove in California. And I thought, God, I want that. But I was like, man, those guys are going to have it. I don't want to be chasing them. And I love that game. But actually, I played it a bunch of times with my son because he loves it. Those I have enough beat 'em ups, man. And when you beat them, it's hard to go back, I love them, but as I've gotten into this hobby, I found like the score chasers, like Tron, Sinistar, Joust, the older stuff holds a little bit more value to me, even though it didn't back then,
Yeah,
but I
absolutely.
still love those beat 'em ups, but
I mean, unless you're somebody that can, kill screen games or get like a perfect score, there's always you can always do a little bit better versus, once you reach the end in a game that ends, you've kind of seen it.
Yeah, it keeps things interesting when friends and family come over. And then, project wise, Star Wars is acting up at resets at random. I think it might be because it has the ESB kit, which it came with it when I got it. So I have another board that I'm going to try with that. It's really annoying. I don't know why it happens. Then I've got a Blasted, which plays great but doesn't have any sound, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit, where I got that. So it still doesn't work. That's out of commission. That's kind of number 1 on my list. And then I have a Mach 3 stand-up here, which I bought from a fellow Clav member. Great guy. It worked when I got it. And then it started having some issues, and I tried cleaning it and things like that, and it just kept getting worse. And so now it doesn't even it powers up and everything, but it doesn't play the game. So I've purchased multiple boards for it, and I think it's a similar thing to Qbert, like you said earlier. You don't see many of those, and I know that Mach 3, those Gottlieb boards, they get really oxidized. So there must be over 1,000 solder points on the back of those boards, and they're just all oxidized. And I'm okay at that's the bare minimum soldering I think I could do, but I'm scared to do it at the same time. So I don't know if Mach 3 is going to happen. I got one more board. I've sunk so much cash into trying to get that thing going, and I've got one more board coming. And if it doesn't work, I think I'm just gonna try and sell it, piece it out, or sell it. Unless I can find somebody that works on them, which I have not been able to do. And I don't blame them because it's a massive effort.
If anybody out there does work on Mach 3 boards, please try to get a hold of Steve here and help him out. Maybe you can work something out, right, where you send 2 broken boards to somebody who works on them, and they send you one working one back. I've heard people do that.
I was thinking about today, Mach 3, it's, I don't know how people feel about it, but I remember when I saw that game at 7-Eleven a long time ago, it was just Laserdisc game, mind-blowing. It's not that great of a game, but I have so much nostalgia for it. even when I was doing the MAME stuff, I tried to emulate that game, and it was really hard to do for me. And I don't know. I want to get it going, but I'm about at the point where I'll give up on it if I can't soon.
Well,
the
there's something to be
laser
said
disc
I
about-
is
hope
so
somebody
hard.
on Cloud can, you know.
When you want to, overcome the challenge. And I've been chatting with Jeff Kinder, who runs the Dragonslayer Project. I've got zero experience with laser games, but I don't know if he knows anybody that is a Mach 3 whiz, maybe could help you out.
Yeah. So, yeah, Zyla, who used to own Hyperspace Arcade in Colorado, sent me to the Dragonslayer Project guys, and they had some great advice. But basically, they're the ones that told me you need to reflow that entire board.
Yeah, if
So
there's
maybe that's a summer
1,000.
project, little by little.
I don't know if there's somebody that's got a rework machine or something, maybe would do it. But yeah,
I've
as for
definitely
me,
thrown boards in an oven before, just a regular oven, and that worked.
yeah.
I would. I'm not against trying that at this point. I mean, I have like 2 board sets, and neither of them work. So what's the point?
I had a toaster oven for a long time that I used as my little reflow oven.
Does that actually work? So you throw it in the oven, and that it tightens up the cracks or something?
Just loosens the solder enough to do that. Yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah, I need to do some research on that when the wife's out of town.
Yeah, all of the appliances in your kitchen can be repurposed for different things, right?
Yeah.
Use your oven to reflow, wash, chassis in the dishwasher, all that kind of stuff. As for me, my main project right now is Joust. I've been distracted by all these pickups and all this other stuff going on, but making progress. And I had been, procrastinating and putting it off because I've been intimidated by the painting that I need to do. So, my Joust had been converted, and it had lost the leg leveler, so the bottoms had been chewed up. Not really water damage, but just dragged along, concrete floors and stuff. So, been working on that. If you see my last couple of videos on my Joust, spent a lot of time, bondoing and sanding and all that stuff. And I had bondo failures. Like, I don't know if the wood hardener that I was using hadn't completely dried before I put bondo on, all kinds of stuff. But I got that all taken care of. And I put together this budget HVLP setup, which is high volume, low pressure. It's a way of spraying paint onto cars and cabinets and that sort of thing, using an air compressor, et cetera, et cetera. That's what Liam has been using to repaint the stencils on his Joust. I didn't need to do an entire re-stenciling, just touching up the sides of the cabinet where I did the repairs. The last couple of days I've been working on that. I sprayed a couple coats of primer on and then sanded a little bit. And then earlier today I put the first coat of brown paint onto the sides of the cabinet. So I'm going to put at least 2 more coats. We'll see what it looks like at that point. So the next episode that I release should be the next part in the Joust restoration. And then once I do that, I need to paint the kick plate, repaint the black paint on the front. And then we're getting pretty close. Got to repaint the coin door, got to repair the marquee light, which had been replaced with a bulb, like a regular light bulb, incandescent light bulb. I've got a reproduction speaker grill from Winslow in the Claw Forms. He makes reproduction speaker grills for those plastic, Robotron and Joust and Defender speaker grills, which get punched in all the time. They're just really thin plastic. He makes really, really nice, like metal. They look identical, but they're more durable because they're made of metal. And then reassemble everything, and then we'll be pretty much wrapped up with the Joust. So looking forward in the future, upcoming plans, projects, parts that you're looking for. Kay, how about you? What's coming up next? And are there any things, whether it's a game or a part or something that's been hard to find, that you want to put the bat signal out for?
No, once again, I don't think there's anything rare and specific I'm looking for. Projects coming up. Like I said, I really need to start focusing on repairs for clients that have been sitting in the shop for a long time. Got a black hole pinball that's been sitting there for a while. We got a Trog, a Popeye. We got a pair of Fast and Furious that both need new monitors, and a Silent Scope EX. just landed in the shop a couple weeks ago. That's, blasting the queue, and I really got to start burning through some of that stuff.
Cool. And
Rob,
Jeremiah, you always say that you're done, right? You always say that you're done. What's next for you? I know there's that, you've got a Qbert too, and it's very, very small though. It's the tabletop version, and there's like a unobtainium custom chip inside that thing. But what parts or what things are you looking for next?
Really don't have any specific parts. Everything that I need to fix, it's just fixing what's already there. It's not really a part that needs to be replaced. At least I don't think so yet. As far as more machines that I would like to get in the future, I'm kind of getting on a kick with these claw machines, and I've always been interested in like how historically, they start off with one mechanism and it kind of evolves into what we have now. And so I've got this really old one right here, and I've got this kind of old one right there, and there's one that's kind of in the middle, and it's somewhere in between that design. And if I could find that for, within 3 hours and under $500, I would be willing to get rid of my pachinko machine to make room for that. So there's my bat signal. If anybody has a really, really old mechanical claw machine, like, hit me up.
There you go. Awesome. How about you, Steve? Are there things that you're looking for, parts you're looking for? I mean, other than a working Mach 3 board set, what's on your want list?
Yeah, so I would say blasted, anything blasted related, which is a pretty rare game, but I've already bought multiples of that and it's not working. So I don't know. At this point, I've got to call in an expert to help me with that. But recently I got a space gun. I had one before and I sold it, and then another one popped up cheap from a buddy. And the caveat was it didn't have a monitor, and I thought, well, that'll be easy. But actually, space gun came in two different varieties. It had a 23-inch tube or a 25. And so depending on the cabinet you get, the mounting is different on the inside. So I happen to have the 23-inch version, which I got for a good deal. It's in great condition. But so I think you need, so I found the tube local here at Sharp Image. They have one, but it needs like the 720 monitor bracket in order to be able to slide into Space Gun.
Like the Atari game 720?
Yeah. Is how it was explained to me by somebody who knows Space Gun in and out. And so I guess that's kind of what I'm looking for is if anybody has a 720 monitor bracket, let me know. I'd be interested.
There you go. Yeah, 23 inches is a pretty uncommon tube size. Like,
Yeah,
even for like the consumer TVs.
Yeah, it's a bizarre tube size. They also made a 25-inch version. So worst case, my buddy's a carpenter, Steve Laity, shout out, taught me everything I know about arcades. We could build something. We could fit a 25 in there, but if possible, I'd like to keep it what it was made for. So I have the tube, just need the frame, which I haven't done that much soul searching yet for it, but it's I don't think it'll be that easy, but it's got to be out there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Liam, how about you? I know, with the move coming up, you're not necessarily looking to stir up any new big things, but what's on your want list, your target list for parts and such?
Right now, as far as all the projects go, every game I've got is complete except for Smash TV. So I'm looking for pretty much one of everything for Smash TV: marquee, CPO, bezel, board, control panel, the entire thing. So just trying to accumulate all those parts in order to put that all back together.
Okay. And as for me, the next sort of project that I'm looking to accumulate parts for is Qbert. And I almost kind of need two of everything. So for, like I was saying, like I want to restore one of them back to a, there you go.
Oh, look at
this serendipity. All right. There you go. So for one of these Qberts, I want to restore it back all the way to original hardware, original everything. And still TBD what to do with the other one. So for the first one, I have knock on wood, I believe I have secured a main PCB and a soundboard and a joystick. The soundboard looks to be in pretty decent shape. The joystick definitely needs to be rebuilt. The main board has some acid damage, but it looks to be pretty localized. So I'm somewhat confident I'll be able to fix that. But I still need a power board. I still need a harness. Qbert marquees are seemingly hard to find. Darren at Phoenix Arcade, he repros the swearing marquee, the prototype marquee, but not the normal. And I've got like one of them as a wall art right there, but it's got a really, really bad crack in it, and I wouldn't want to illuminate it with a marquee light. So yeah, definitely looking for a power board, harness, and a marquee for Qbert. So if anyone's sitting on one of those, let me know. And then for the other cabinet, like what I kind of want to do is put the J-Rock Milestar in there, the board, the FPGA board in there. And then, I'm thinking maybe doing like a multi-game with Mad Planets and Reactor. Somebody did do I don't know if it was Takeman or whatever, and then maybe Tog did a CPO, a custom CPO, like combining Mad Planets and Reactor. The multi-Milestar board, really hasn't had a lot of people doing multi-control panels for it, because unlike the multi-Williams, where there is kind of space, you kind of just put the Defender or Stargate controls down, and then you add another joystick for Robotron, that sort of thing to get the multi-Williams. The games on the multi-Milestar board are all different, right? So you have all the Qbert variants, and that has the joystick, but the joystick is rotated diagonally. Mad Planets has a flight stick, like sort of like Gore for like Mach 3, really, and spinner kind of like Tempest. Reactor uses a trackball and buttons. Three Stooges, terrible game, has 3 joysticks on it. So, but the only games that I would care about on that J-Rock board, other than Qbert, obviously, would be Reactor and Mad Planets. I did just get somebody had like a overrun of Mad Planets CPO, so I did grab one of those in case I decided to go that way. So yeah, any kind of other stuff for that, right? If there are Mad Planets, even repro stuff out there, marquee, something like that, I'm kind of slowly looking for those things. Okay, so with that kind of normal stuff out of the way, we're going to get into the meat of the episode here. And this is something that maybe we've been doing a little bit of clickbait about to promote this episode. But the title of this episode is "The Worst Scam in Classic Arcade Video Game Collecting History." And this is something that Steve's been personally affected by, personally caught up in. And so that's why he's joining us today on this episode to kind of share his experiences and what he's been through and all of that kind of thing. So, first of all, Steve, thank you for joining us. And also I wanted to, throw it out there, if there's other folks that have been through this or maybe a similar situation, on either side, right? So if there's anyone else that wants to talk about this specific, situation, feel free to reach out to any of us, and we can, figure out, maybe getting you on a future episode. So I just want to put that out there, that we're happy to welcome anybody that wants to come on and tell us about what went down from their perspective. But again, yeah, Steve, thanks for joining. Really excited to have you here and to hear what you've been through. So, for those of us, in the audience or whatever, that haven't read the entire, 1,300 post long thread on Clav and growing, and all of the other ones, there's a bunch of other Clav threads about it. There's Pinside threads about this. It's been talked about on Facebook. What is this all about? How did this all start?
All right. So first of all, I'll just say, when I started in the hobby, like I considered getting scammed, like somebody who would promise something is fully restored and then you'd get it. I've had that happen, right? But what I learned is they weren't really scamming me. They were just, their definition and my definition of what is good and great condition is different, right? But I still got a game and it worked, or it needed some work, right? So it was that type of stuff happens. But this one, it all started last year in July, I want to say, and it was on Clove. And so this big collector in Oregon, his name was Steven Salmon, which is kind of a weird name, right? If that's really his name, I don't know. He listed this amazing list of games that were going to be sold. And you can go back in Clove and look at it. And
like 150, 200 games, something crazy
yeah,
like that.
something like that. It was, dude, it was, and was multiple threads of it. And they, so there's, you know, if you search for it now on Clove, you're going to see the complaints thread mostly. But if you can find, I don't know if they took it down or not, but there was the for sale threads, and there was, I think there was 2 of them. And he just listed all these amazing games. And he promised they were in, you know, he's restored them and he's been in great condition. He was going to sell all these games and buy you know, to buy a large piece of property in Oregon. And so of course everybody went wild, right? Everybody started buying stuff. For me, the #1 game that I wanted at first was Night Slashers, which I have right here. And then, you know, I saw he listed Blasted. And so, you know, over time, it just added up. He had games that I never thought that I would ever see. And I think everybody felt that way. These were games that nobody, like, once in a lifetime chance to buy a lot of them. Like he promised environmental Discs of Tron, you know, that type of stuff. And so I messaged him right away about Night Slashers. I mean, when he posted this, it was such a frenzy that, like, it took a while for him to get back to you, because you knew, like, if anybody was listing these games, people were going to freak out about it, right? Like, everybody was going to rush with their money to the table. And so the odd thing was that he requested wire transfers for payment. So I remember the total amount that I paid him for games, but I don't remember the individual breakdown. But over, let's say, like a week of time, I committed to buy 6 games from him. Night Slashers, Blasted, Paperboy, Mach 3, Stand Up, which is not his. I did not get this one from him. Daytona Stand Up, Virtual Racing Stand Up. I think that's all of them that I listed. I think that's 6. And so I wire transferred him the money, and everybody else did as well. And one of the main reasons they did that is because people vouched for him on Clove. It's not like a random thing where people said, hey, I'm going to send you, you know, $6,000 or whatever. People who had clout on Clove vouched for him. And so that's why everybody did it. Like, we all felt like this was a safe deal. And so I think in total, I don't know what the exact number is, but through research, and I know there's we have a group on Discord just with people who were affected by this. It was over 250 grand that was taken by this guy.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Right. And right. So you mentioned the 6 games that you purchased and lots of others by others. When did you kind of get the first sense that maybe things were going south?
Well, he kept delaying shipment, right? So like I sent him the money for those games, and then I immediately contacted Michelle. And so that's another thing that people forget. Michelle vouched for him at STI Beltman. Michelle said, no, he's legit.
The shipping company. Yeah.
Yeah. Steve Salmon's legit. I've shipped him stuff. I've shipped stuff from him. So that was another reason, like, oh, this is no problem. Everything's going to be okay. And another reason that felt good about it. But anyway, yeah, so I paid for shipping. And so Michelle would start calling him, and it was like, okay, well, it'll be next week. And then it was the week after that. And then every time you text him, it's, oh, it's going out next week. Or like, oh, he always had an excuse for it. And then it was like a month after, and he's like, well, sorry, there was a fire in my warehouse and nobody's getting their games, and you're just gonna have to wait to get your money back. And so that's when, I mean, I knew when he started pushing back shipping, that's when I knew there was, I felt uneasy about it. And then the fire bit, that's what pushed it over the edge.
That's crazy, right? So so you know, people, you think about like what's actually going on, right? Does he have the games? Does he not have the games? Is he just like, you know, what's a kind way to say it, right? Like, you know, a bozo, just, you know, whatever, doesn't know what he's doing type of thing, right? So that's kind of like bobbling along. And then there's a fire, whether or not there was a story. Was there any, you know, evidence of a fire? You know, what were you
Yeah,
guys able to
so
find out?
look, I see some people on Clav, saying that, oh, like you guys should contact the police or the FBI, all this stuff. You should do this. Like, we already did that. Not just me, but multiple people did this. I mean, some people paid lawyers to get, to get involved on this, like 5 figures worth. So yeah, there was a fire department report. There was a fire. He was having a marijuana grow house in the same place where he's having the games. He said that the sprinklers came on and ruined every game in there, right? So that's
Hold
not
on one
true.
second.
Yeah.
Jeremiah, do most warehouses have sprinklers?
It depends on the city that it's in. The city may require it, or the building's insurance company may require it.
Because Jeremiah designs like sprinkler systems for a living.
Yeah, so he said that all the games were water damaged and destroyed, majority of them. He was going to have to sift through it, and if there was anything that survived, he would send that out. And then people started like, yeah, screw that, I'll take the water damage game. Like, just give me what I paid for and I'll fix it, or whatever. So he goes from saying like, oh, there's your games are destroyed, you're not getting anything, I'll pay you back after the insurance comes through, which will be months. And so of course nobody's happy with that, right? So I'm like, well, what the hell, man? So I ended up reaching out to somebody on Facebook that shares the same warehouse with him. And as soon as I do that, I get a call from the guy. He's like, hey man, good news. Your blasted made it. It wasn't damaged at all. It's perfectly fine. I'm going to ship it out to you. But in order to ship it out, you got to send me an email saying that you're okay with this being the only payment for all 6 games that you bought. And so at this point, I'm thinking like, oh, well, I think this guy's full of it, right? I don't believe a word he's saying. I'll take anything I can get. So I sent him an open-ended email that said, hey, I want all my 6 games. In the meantime, send me blasted, right? That I worded it open-ended so that, it's not going to be like, it's going to be fightable in court if it comes to that. And he sent me blasted, and I was told that it was going to be water damaged and destroyed. But all of a sudden, you can complain to one of his buddies on Facebook or somebody who's next to him, and it shows up. Now, it had some soot on it and everything that I wrote off, so maybe there was a fire, but there was no water damage. I mean, the thing is signed by the designer, which I didn't know when I bought it. Like, it's pretty mint, other than when I plugged it in, when I first got it, it caught on fire. Like, it literally, and I have a buddy who was witness. My buddy Steve Laity was there when it showed up. We plugged it in, it just started sparking up on the inside. Totally destroyed the soundboard.
Where the fire came from, the soundboard?
Yeah, it just started, it literally caught on fire. And Night Slashers did the same thing when I got that, actually.
So he sent you Night Slashers too?
Yeah.
Was that in the same shipment?
No. Sorry, we're jumping all over the place, but yeah. So I was one of the first guys that got a game, and I did it because I thought this is a done deal. I'm screwed either way. I'll just take what I can get. So I ended up getting blasted. Some other guys got, like, I think he shipped like 4 or 5 games, and then he would go on Club and say, hey, look, I'm fulfilling my end of the deal. I
remember those games. Early shipments. I remember your post about the blasted when you got it, and showcasing the ship, because you were the first evidence that anyone had of him actually shipping something out.
Yeah. So, but I know others that got their stuff. And I'm jumping around a little bit, but he sent like, he sent junk machines to people, and then he said it was a joke. Like, he's legitimately messing with people. Like, he sent a disc of Tron, and I think it was in an Atari Assault cabinet, like this one, first of all, I don't know who puts a Discitron in an Atari Assault, but for whatever reason he did, and it was trash. The guy didn't even accept the shipment. But the Night Slash, so I'm rambling here, so I don't want to jump ahead of all the questions, but basically I got blasted, and then I got invited to this Discord group, and everybody, like, there's a detective involved and all this stuff. And I got pissed off, and one day I'd had enough. I was like, you know what, man, screw this. Like, I know you sent me blasted, but that's not going to cut it. Like, I need the rest of my stuff, or I need my money back. And so I went back and forth with them for like 48 hours. I don't know, maybe a week. And just heated, man. I even bought a website domain. I mocked up graphics and stuff saying, like, I'm going to start this website. I'm going to put it up and blast you and everybody else I think is involved. And I didn't necessarily think or know that those guys are involved, but what I did was I knew it would get to Steve Salmon if I did that, because his friends would complain to him, and maybe it would get my games or get my money back. He's threatening to sue me. He's making threats, you know, coming to my house, stuff like that. And, you know, I had an epiphany. I'm like, you know what? This was a horrible mistake on myself. I need to be more careful. I kind of wanted to leave the hobby altogether. You know, I was just like, you know what? Screw this. I'm out. I'm going to sell everything. I was really down about it for a long time. And so, yeah, I went back and forth with him. And basically, the last text I sent him was like, you know what, dude, screw you. You know, you're a piece of garbage. Karma is going to get you someday. And I'm done with this. I'm never talking to you again. Like, you know, I accept my mistake of sending you money or trusting anybody. That's it. I'm done. I'm not dealing with this. And the next day I just put it out of my mind. And then, like, 5 months later, he's like, he texts me out of the blue. I was taking a nap at my house. He texts me out of the blue. He's like, hey, they're coming to pick up Night Slashers tomorrow. Do you still want it? And I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, of course I want it. Like, I paid for it. You know what I mean? So it was legit. I called Michelle, and yeah, they went and they picked up Night Slashers like 5 months after the fact, that after I'd already walked away from all of this. I was done with it. I still kept up with the Discord group because we're just like a, you know, like this group of, you know, it's
support group.
A support group. So I mean, I just check in on there every now and then. So he sends me the Night Slashers. It shows up. It's trashed. Like, board catches on fire when I plug it in. I don't even know how that's possible.
You really gotta stop plugging in games, man.
Dude, I've never had that happen with anything else I've ever gotten except from this guy. And anyway, so but the Night Slashers, like, I knew when I bought it that it had some things, like it needed like you know, marquee and stuff. So that was you know, I restored it. I found somebody could fix the board, thank God. And it's beautiful, and it's sitting right here. But it showed up and it was, you know, trashed.
So Steve, you mentioned you know, people contacting the authorities, a detective being involved, you know, lawsuits, that sort of thing. You know, what you know, and I know most people would think, well, heck, you know, call the police, call whatever, right? Interstate fraud, you know, wire fraud, all that kind of stuff. What happened? Whatever came from, you know, all of the people who got ripped off, you know, reaching out to the police and lawyers and whatever. What came of all that?
Yeah, so kudos to the guys that went really hardcore at it. Like, I started getting texts immediately once everybody started realizing it was a scam. You know, people were getting lawyers involved, asking if you want to put money towards it, send your information and pictures to these lawyers, which I did. I didn't put any money towards it. So all the guys that did for the lawyers, kudos to you, man. And then on the Discord group, we did get a hold of one of the guys in the Discord group and a club member set all this up. And so we have a detective. I still have his name. So I sent him everything I had, chat messages, screenshots, pictures, everything I had, I sent to the detective. I never heard back from the detective. But funny, after I did that, that's when Steven reached out to me about the Night Slashers. You know, it still took like a month, so it must have done something. Like he definitely he heard something. He made some people whole, like sent them, and it's a weird hodgepodge of certain people were made okay and certain people were just screwed. And the worst part about it is the games I bought, I'm still seeing pop up on Facebook right now, the same pictures that I got of when I bought, like Paperboy. I didn't buy arm wrestling, but that's the same arm wrestling that was recently on Facebook. That was part of the scam. And so it's frustrating. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I already bought that Paperboy. And not only did it wasn't me, like he resold that Paperboy like 3 or 4 times. So how much money did this guy steal? So, and even if he did get some people back, it's still, you know, everybody lost money. Like,
yeah. Well, you're out 4 games, right? You're still owed 4 games, right? You never got any kind of refund or money back. And so, you know, if you were to, you know, of what you've seen, right? Like you might not even know, you know, how many games were sold, how many people were affected. Like you were saying, you know, the best estimate is something like, you know, $250,000, $250,000 across all of this. Do you have any kind of sense of how many games were actually delivered, you know, notwithstanding the condition, or if it was, but, you know, did he deliver on 10% of what he sold?
Oh, I would guess it's less than 30 that
30 games.
Yeah, maybe 20, maybe 25. And when I say games, I don't mean the games that people bought. Like they got
just something. Yeah. Like the joke stuff you were saying.
Yeah. So that was, he sent some stuff out as a joke. You know, there was the guy in Idaho, he got a Total Carnage, which is an awesome machine, but that's not what he bought, you know. So everybody got, not everybody, but some people got machines. Like I know Gene, who owns Gene's Vintage Arcade shop in California, he just took whatever he could get, but I don't think he got anything that he paid for. And what he got was way undervalued. You know, he paid more than what he got. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but that's what I've told.
Yeah. So where do things, you know, stand now? Where, you know, where do we go from here? Are you expecting anything to happen? Are you know, are there any signs of, you know, law enforcement or the authorities doing anything? You know, is there you know, you mentioned the Discord group, is there, you know, and you don't have to, like, you know, if anything any of this is sensitive, is there, you know, a lawsuit or something? Like what's next?
So if there was a lawsuit going on, I wouldn't know about it. I know some guys were doing it. Whether they kept up with it or not, I mean, I haven't texted those guys in a while. You know, Steven, the last time I talked to him after I got Night Slashers, he's like, hey, I'm going to hit you up next week and we'll figure something out. And I still haven't heard from him. I don't expect to hear from him. Nobody expects to hear from him. Some genius on Clav, what, buddy? Some genius on Clav, he built the Steve Salmon is a Scammer website. That wasn't me. It was, I had the idea to do it. I bought a different domain just to scare him, but I didn't do that. So whoever did that, kudos to you, because they have a full breakdown of what happened. And it's up there for people to read. Yeah,
there's a ton of info there, a ton of research. If there's, you know, I don't know, hopefully that has all gone to, you know, the detective that's involved or someone investigating it. If there's, you know, an enterprising, you know, journalist out there, you know, whether in the gaming media or something like that. Like,
yeah,
we're just a bunch of bozos here on a podcast, right? If there's somebody out there that wants to do some kind of, you know, investigation.
Who says bozo?
Yeah.
Hey, we try to keep it safe for work, right?
Yeah, in the
like
1950s, apparently.
It sounded like Steve's kid was coming up to interrupt him. We don't want to say anything that's going to.
It's okay. He's probably heard worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I sent this stuff to like Kotaku and other video game sites. I didn't hear anything back. you know, because it's classic arcades. Like in our circle, you know, we take it very serious. It's a big deal, but people who aren't into it, they could care less, right? So I don't think anything is going to happen. I think what will happen, and it's happening now, is that, well, hey, we got screwed over in this. So what we're going to do is we're going to out everybody that was possibly involved with this and try and take away their base of sales. And you can look it up on the website. When I'm not throwing blame at anybody, but there are certain individuals that have a huge, and you know what? I get it in this hobby. Like people aren't going to, like if you need something or a rare part or something, people are just going to ignore it and they're going to buy it. But that doesn't mean that these people's names shouldn't be out there. So like, I don't know, like, I don't even know if it's malicious, but Chris Donahoe on Facebook is selling games that Steven promised to other people, right? Now, is he doing it malicious? Was he a part of it? I don't know, but he's definitely got those games. So did Steven walk across and take pictures of those games and sell them? And look, man, I've bought stuff from Chris before this ever happened, right? And I always got my stuff. So I'm not pointing fingers, right? Like I don't even feel comfortable mentioning names because I don't know that there was any malicious intent. But that's the type of stuff that we're talking about, right? Like he's selling that stuff that were sent to pictures that people already paid for. He's already got the money for it. So whether he bought that stuff from Steven just to like help Steven get out of it, and Chris might not know anything about this. I don't know, right? There's others too that people blame. Jamie Share on Facebook. I've bought stuff from him. I've never had an issue with him, right? His name got wrapped into this in the beginning because he was one of the people that vouched for Steven, and they had dealings in the beginning, you know, way before this. I don't know that there was any malicious intent or that he was involved in this at all. And now on Clav, it's going back and forth. Like I don't know, but those are names that get thrown out.
Look, it gets,
man. I wish look, where there's smoke, there's fire. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much Jamie, but I don't know, man. I just
Would you say that this whole episode has caused a decline in the trust in the arcade community? It seems like there's been sort of a chilling effect on trades made through Klov.
I think there has, and me personally, I mean, maybe it's because I'm more attuned to it, but I've seen multiple more scams popping up, or people just not willing to do deals anymore because they're worried of this. Anybody who's associated with this, not me personally, I haven't had any problems, but I've seen other people like, hey, you were associated with that organ deal. I'm done with it. You know, like I'm out. I don't want to deal with this. And people have complained about it on Klov. So,
well, and when that kind of stuff happens, right? People, you know, will start pointing fingers and start, you know, casting blame, aspersions, accusations, whatever. And right, like it's yeah, to like Liam was saying it, you know, once the trust is broken somewhere, like the trust is weakened everywhere else, right? Like it has ripple effects, and even for people that are not even involved, right? Like there are people making jokes of like, hey, I'm not going to deal anything with the entire Pacific Northwest. You know what? The entire West Coast, right? They're dead to me.
Yeah.
And, you know, you could say, hey, I'm just going to do Fastenal shipping, and then you don't have to worry about anything west of the Rockies because Fastenal won't cross ship between zones. Yeah. Well, how would you advise people, you know, in the future to be able to avoid this kind of thing, to avoid getting stung, you know, the way that you got stung?
Well, just real quick, I'm sure everything I've said here is going to come back to haunt me at some point. Like I'm sure that people are going to take sides, and for whatever reason, like they've had good experiences with some of the people I've mentioned, and that's fine. I'm putting it out there because I feel like I owe it to everybody on Discord and other reasons, right? It has to be said. I don't wish any ill will on anybody, but that's what happened. As far as your question, don't ever wire anybody money. no matter what, even if they're vouched for, man. Like, all right, if Todd Tucky asked me for a wire, I'd be okay with it, right? But if it's not Todd Tucky or like some heavy hitter, you know, in the arcade community that you know, and their business address, that type of thing, don't wire anybody money. Don't Zelle anybody money. Don't Venmo anybody money. And if you do, make sure that you can get it back or use a credit card, because that was the one thing that stood out to everybody on Clov, and everybody was blinded by it, is the wire transfer. Like, everybody thought that was a little strange, but we were all blinded by, like, hey man, he's got night flashers. You know what? Even if I lost the money for that, it'd be worth it, and I won't lose it, right? The people get blind with what they want, myself included. And so anybody asks, and you see it all the time, still on Facebook, like people, I still, I use PayPal, and, but friends and family, if you spend with friends, and that's like, I do that all the time, right? If you use friends and family, you can't get that money back once it's gone. So you either have to pay the fees, but even then the seller, he doesn't want to do that, because taxes, and you could scam him in that regard. So I guess for me, I try and stick with cash on glass, or PayPal is the best thing. And then, man, it's sad to say, and I hate to say it, but people's word does not necessarily carry any weight anymore. You never know. Like, if they had like in Jamie's sake, he might have had a great bunch of experiences with Steve Salmon. And just because of that, now he's wrapped in it. I don't know, you know what I mean, if he had anything to do with it, but you never know when someone's going to turn into a piece of garbage. And I'm talking about Steve Salmon, right? And by saying this, there's probably no chance of me getting my games anymore. I don't care, because I don't think it's going to happen anyway, right? This guy is out there coasting. He took everybody's money, and even if he paid some people back, which he didn't pay everybody back, there's a whole bunch of people that didn't get anything, or still owed stuff. He betrayed people's trust. He took our money. He hurt the hobby. He's a piece of garbage. That's what he is. I'll bet my phone's going to start blowing up if he sees this. And I don't even want to deal with it anymore. It's just like, whatever, man. Like,
So yeah, what's he gonna do? Extra not give you your games?
yeah, well, he's always threatening legal trouble. I'm like, for what? You stole from me, man. And not only that, like, you stole from a bunch of other people. So what are you going to sue me for?
Yeah, I'd heard things like that, right? And like, clearly the people who have been, on that side that have been throwing things around have no experience with lawsuits at all, and don't understand what discovery is, and don't understand any of that kind of stuff. Yeah. But at the same time, right, like, it's a lot easier to get, if you get, a finding or a judgment in your favor, right? Good luck collecting, right? It's easier when it's a business and they have assets that are publicly sort of tracked and stuff. Getting a judgment, payments out of a judgment against an individual can be tricky.
There were threats about this coming on this podcast. If I named any names, there were threats. So yeah, whatever, it's already done. So
thank you for coming on, Steve. Right, like it's like I was saying at the beginning, it's when things like this happen, it's important for people to hear about it, right? So that they can learn from that, so that they don't have to experience things firsthand before they, have their guard up, right? And a couple good comments, a couple good points made in the live chat. Zoner69 was saying, trust is definitely gone. Ask Michelle how much her arcade shipping business has declined. Can't overlook the extent of the damages. Families and marriages have potentially been broken up by this. Because we're talking about many tens of thousands of dollars, right? Maybe $250,000 overall, and certainly thousands for most people. And for most people, thousands of dollars, that's real money, right?
Yep. Dude, because if you get an arcade machine, it still has value, right? So right. If you lost 10 grand in this, even if you bought a game, like, you could resell. If you had a Discatron, that's if anything, it went up in value, right? Like, you've got an asset A lot of people got nothing.
Well, that's like a whole thing, right? Now, my mind goes to like, digital games, and kids these days, right, aren't buying. Oh, hey, she Lion, thanks for joining. Like when you buy a digital thing, you can't resell it. You have not bought an asset, right? Your money is gone, right?
Yeah.
When you buy an arcade machine, when you buy a pinball machine, when you buy a car, when you buy a property, it may not be a good deal, but at least you have some sort of asset that has some sort of value that you can get. So, whether or not you're getting all of your money out that you put into it, you can get something out of it, right? Just absolutely crazy. So anything else that we didn't cover, anything that we didn't ask you about, or something that you wanted to mention that you didn't?
Just going back to the thing, man, like Club in general, it's like my favorite place to go, or at least, I still check it every day just for fun. And because of that, like, a word of caution for everybody. Like, I am, I'm terrible at this myself, right? But you see something, you want it so bad, something you've been thinking about for a long time, and then somebody dangles that carrot, and you tend to just jump in. Like in this hobby, it's like, well, just, you gotta be first. You gotta be first if you want to get this rare thing. And I would just say, if everybody's doing due diligence, do a little bit more, and then if you bought something, give the guy a good rating if you had a good experience, and same if you sold something. And I need to be better about this too, right? Just those ratings are there for a reason. That's the only thing, man. Like, that was the main thing. Like, Michelle vouched for this guy, and other club members did too. And to no fault of their own necessarily, like maybe they had a good experience or they got what they bought, but just more due diligence. On Facebook as well, man. Like, before you buy something I do is I always click on that profile, right? Like, that's a suspicious name. Where is he from? Like, here in Vegas, I don't even know if this is true, but there's a guy, I clicked on his profile, says he lives in Sacramento. He's selling 3 games here locally in Vegas. I'm like, I'm just not even dealing with that. Like,
it says joined Facebook in 2022.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, they joined Facebook like a week ago, right? Simple, weird names, pictures that don't, like, there's no family pictures, it's just a little off. You've never seen them selling before. They don't have any references, it's stuff like that. Because I think it's only going to get worse, unfortunately. And the worst part is, man, this is the last thing I'll say, is I never thought that in a community kind of this obscure, this like we're all kind of crazy, right? We're all maniacs, right? Like, to get down to this hardcore of like gaming, for people to infiltrate this and take our money, it's lower than low, and they're just desperate, That's the last thing. I mean, that's how I feel about it, I guess. Sorry, I'm rambling.
No, Steve, and I want to say thank you for coming on and sharing this with us, right? Like I was saying, it's important for people to hear this kind of stuff, because it does happen, right? And it's awful, and I think, I can speak for everybody when I say our heart goes out to you, and we feel terrible that you got affected by this. And for everybody else out there, like I mentioned earlier, right? If you were wrapped up in this too, or if you feel like you've got something to share, reach out to any of us. Even if Steve, reach out to Steve. Steve can connect you with us. We happen to have you on for you to share your side of the story, whatever side you're on, right? So but I mean, this happens, right? And like, in a previous episode, Kay, you were talking about like stolen goods or whatever, and like all of that kind of stuff, right? Like, and I think you probably, maybe even more than Steve here, buy and sell, because you do this for a living, right? So the volume of transactions that you're going through, what kind of stuff have you seen, like this?
So with my experience that you're speaking of, that's one of those times we realize that even cash on the glass isn't safe. Because I bought games in person from a guy, and then found out a couple days later, oh, he didn't actually own them. He just broke into a warehouse and sold them on Facebook. So I still have those machines. It's almost 3 years ago now. To kind of piggyback on a point you made earlier, I don't ship a lot of machines. Most everything I do is local. So I haven't heard anything about this business wise. It hasn't affected my business because most of the things I sell are just local deliveries down here in West Texas. So most of the people I sell to aren't even collectors. They're just casual owners, and they have no knowledge of any of this. That none of it's going to affect them. But I saw a lot of noise from a lot of people who either just aren't in the hobby or like barely in the hobby, who are like, well, how did this even happen? Like, how could you not see this coming? Like, these machines, like, clearly it's too good to be true. Why would you send money to a stranger? And they just don't understand that in a hobby like this, things are so exceptionally rare that you're putting feelers out all the time. You are seeking specific machines, and you're going to look for months or even years before one even pops up as a possibility. And like you said, you got to jump on it when it does, because if you don't, it's going to slip out from under your fingers, and there's no telling what's going to happen again. So even in a case like that, sometimes there are red flags that you're willing to overlook, because if I don't do this, someone else will, and I'm just going to feel like an idiot afterwards. I think the after effect of this is going to be a double-edged sword, because people are going to be more careful about things that they buy. But there are also going to be people that realize that, hey, maybe this is something I could get away with, and maybe I should try to do the scam because this guy didn't get arrested or anything like that. I've done a few sales. Why don't I do it too?
Yeah, and here's the thing that we all came up with. The police didn't do anything like that. Not like, regardless of everything, it wasn't a big enough deal for them to care. And so I'm not disparaging police. Like, I understand people are leaving in droves and there's not enough. And this is a petty thing. But the reality is, despite everything, all the evidence, nothing was really done. And the guy's still out there. He didn't pay any consequences, really.
Yeah, from what I saw on that website, because I went through it yesterday because I only had a passing understanding of what had happened. So I went through the entire website that got posted and kind of educated myself. And basically, it sounds like everyone's like, well, that's not our jurisdiction. You really got to contact your local guys from where you are and have them contact us and make a whole deal about it. Yeah, it's
the amount of FOMO that was going on when that first thread got posted. I know I didn't get caught up in it purely because I don't have the money to spare on rare games like that. So in a way, I'm glad, but also it was very easy to see, like, even though that he didn't post any pictures in the listing, or some of the titles were poorly written, to say the least. It was just such a collection of things. There was something for everyone. Yeah.
No, you're right. Those are all red flags in hindsight. And I remember thinking about it at that time, but the thing that I kept coming back to is like, oh, well, these people have vouched for him. So maybe the guy's just, he's dyslexic or something like that. Like, those are all red flags. And you're right. The hype of the moment, I think, caught everybody. And, we threw a bunch of money at him, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, hindsight is 2020, and if if you're going to send a bunch of money to get a discs of Trag, absolutely.
Yeah,
because that's the only way you're going to get your discs of Tron.
Yeah, I should have known, man. Like, Brad Rydell, he was selling a turkey shoot, and I sent it to Brad Rydell, who fixes Williams boards, and he's like, "No, there's something off with that guy." I should have listened to him. Like, he's a legit collector in the hobby, and I know how bad he wanted the turkey shoot, and he didn't jump on it. He backed off. I should have listened to him when I sent him that posting. I wish. Well,
I mean, when you got Michelle vouching for the guy, I mean, how many thousands of people have she dealt with? She would know if a guy's.
Yep. I have all those emails from Michelle.
Yeah. I'm surprised Brad doesn't actually have a turkey shoot yet. He seems to have every other game.
Yeah, I don't think he has one. He doesn't have a NARC either. I've been begging him to buy one so he'll fix my. Not that my boards are broken. I just want them bulletproof by him.
And Liam knows about this.
I saw this too.
Totally different type of disappointment, right? I didn't get ripped off, nothing like that. I didn't lose any money, but a missed opportunity. I missed a $200 working NARC by a couple of minutes.
I saw your post.
Man, pretty close, like 40 minutes away from my house, right? Saw it, right? Like, within an hour of it being posted on Facebook Marketplace, I reached out to the seller, right? And it was like 9 o'clock at night. I said, hey, happy to grab this, anytime tomorrow, or if you want, right? I could even come right now. My kids are in bed, right? And she responded and said, sorry, it's already pending pickup, right? And fortunately though, I do know the guy that got it. Another local collector, Andy Lee. He's got the MCC Justcades is his arcade YouTube channel, and he's going to be putting it in his. He's working on this thing called Coffeecade, which is like a barcade but a coffee bar, right? So like a coffee bar arcade. So I'll be able to go and play it, but unfortunately, it won't be in my house. And I also know we've got who was it? Stringer Films in the live chat. I think had an even worse sort of situation. So he was trying to buy a Wacky Gators, which is like whack-a-mole but with alligators, right? They come out like this, right? And I guess he had like a deal sort of set and was about to go and pick up the thing, and the seller told him, hey, sorry, I sold it to somebody else for more. So he got skunked that way. And I've seen that happen a bunch too, right? Like
Happened to me.
I've the only time I've ever gotten caught up with that is when it, like, I never start it, right? Like even with the narc, right? I didn't say, well, what if I offered you 500, right? I would never do something like that. But I've had it almost happen to me where I had a deal going and somebody said, hey, somebody offered me a little bit more, and I like offered them $25 more than what the other person who was trying to snake my deal offered. But yeah, man.
About a month ago, I had a Tempest that I think was like $200 or something, and I messaged them within 10 minutes of the listing going up, and I'd set a time, agreed the price, sent the address. I was about to get in the car, and he's like, never mind, somebody just offered me more. Bye.
It sucks. And and Stringer Films, yeah. He's saying the seller marked it sold and then ghosted him. Sorry about that, dude. Yeah, you bought a replacement mallet for it. I saw you had posted that on Twitter, right? And then somebody jokingly had like a fake CNN like thing that said, murder weapon found, and it was him holding the the whack-a-mole or Wacky Gators mallet. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, P-Dubs Arcade Loft, thanks for joining. Lots more people. MG, others have jumped in. Wild. So yeah, I don't know how we sort of follow that. We have a bunch of questions I've been keeping track of from folks in the live chat. One that we got from last time, which maybe is sort of related to the main topic, came from Jay from Delusionals Arcade. He asked right as we were signing off last time a month ago. So sorry, Jay, that this is so much later. But Jay said, I always wondered about insurance and value of these machines. How can they be covered, and who determines value? So I don't know, right? Those of you who have extensive collections, do you have like a rider on your homeowners or renters insurance, or do you have some? Because I think there's like some kind of homeowners policies where you can say, hey, I have household property, personal goods, whatever, that are more than what normal people have, furniture, and they have appliances and whatnot. I've got a collection of arcade machines, or a collection of pinball machines worth $10,000 or whatever. Do any of you guys have like
Not
explicit
yet,
things in your insurance policies?
but because we're moving and transporting our entire collection, I've been researching this extensively in the last month or so. So in often cases, especially with a small to moderate sized collection, it can be covered by your standard homeowner's insurance to a point. Obviously, there is a maximum value of items that a standard homeowner's insurance policy will cover in a house. You can get riders for this. This depends on your insurance company. But if you're going to do that, they're probably going to want it appraised professionally. Now, to the point, who appraises these things? it'll usually end up having to be somebody from K-Love that you'll have to come out and get an unbiased external appraisal that can be submitted. However, sometimes for documentation of value, I've seen that if you show something that's sold on eBay that is the same as your game, that will work for an insurance company. So use those eBay rates. The other thing
Because
that
you don't want Clove prices. You want retail prices. You want your games.
If you can use the captain's auction prices, then my collection's worth like $4 billion.
There you go. Every Qbert is $4,000.
The other thing is there's a collector's insurance option. So instead of paying more on your standard homeowner's monthly premiums for a large collection, you can pay for specific collections insurance, which will cover just about any type of collectible. And that is usually cheaper because the assumption is for a collection that you care deeply about, you will be doing your utmost to prevent having to make a claim. So generally, those are a little bit cheaper than a generic insurance policy.
Wow.
Yeah, something I looked into briefly, and it seemed pretty reasonable. It was like $100 or $150 a year to add it on. I don't have it, but that's the question I always want to ask, like, how do these guys know what the actual value is? They're going to go to Exidy or Vintage Arcade Gal or something like that. I don't know how they would find the value for this stuff. It's pretty scary, actually, if you think about a house fire or something. God forbid, I'm not trying to will this into existence,
Wild stuff. Yeah. We got a question from Frog Puppet. He asked, anybody planning on attending SFGE, so Southern Fried Gaming Expo?
I think
anybody going to that?
So I'm pretty sure Frog Puppet's the guy I talked to who lives in Georgia. I just moved here from Georgia like not 2 years ago. And a friend of mine named Michael Harold is probably going to be at that. He goes to that most of the time and he sells retro console stuff. So I won't be going to that, but yeah, one of my friends will be there. I hear it's a good time.
Well, I know.
Nick, go ahead. I said Nick Madsen invited me out to that. I think he and Retro Ralph are going to that. And I think isn't Stringer Films out there as well? So I'm toying with the
Stringer
idea.
Films said he's going there.
It would be fun. It would be fun to go and meet everybody in person.
Well, I know
I'm too busy for that stuff.
Pinfest is coming up, right? Isn't Pinfest next weekend up in Allentown, Pennsylvania? I think Delusional was going there, Jay from Delusionals, and I'm like kind of eyeballing it because I've wanted to go in the past, but if there's any if the Little League games that weekend get rained out, maybe I'll take one of my kids up there to check it out. Let's see. Another question. Les F142 asked, and I think some of you guys were kind of engaging with this in the live chat earlier, what's the most unreliable game that each of you have owned, breaks down a lot? I'm happy to go first with that one. It's Tempest. I think a lot of people will tell you that Tempest is one that's pretty unreliable because it's a vector game, and vector games in general have issues. Although vector, I was going to say vector collectors like Vector Collector on Clav might disagree, but Tempest was Atari's first color vector game, so the technology was still developing, and there's a very tight interdependent relationship between the monitor and the board in a vector game. It's not like a raster game where the PCB, the game PCB, and the monitor are very independent systems, and there's really just a signal going between them. The game PCB in a vector game is driving voltages that go directly to the chassis. So problems that seem to be monitor problems can actually be game problems and vice versa. So Tempest, I think, is the only game. No, there's two. So Tempest is of the games that I have, I've only had two that have like really broken down once they've moved into the house. Tempest being one, and it was a board problem, but it was really a user error on my part. Watch my video about that if you're interested. And the other one is the PlayChoice 10, because I've got the version with the Sharp monitors. So Nintendo really had two types of monitors in their games, the Sanyo 20EZs and different variants of that, and they had some Sharp monitors like the XM 2001N was the 20-inch monitor in Punch Outs and PlayChoices, but not all of them. Some of them used 20EZs. And the Red Tent had the same monitor, but in an 18-inch size, the XM 1801N. And those have yoke problems a lot. Knock on wood, I haven't had any yoke problems yet. But I've had two flybacks go bad, one OEM flyback and one reproduction flyback die. And then the latest batch of repro flybacks have all kinds of issues. You can get an image, but they're distorted. And Peter from Arcade Parts and Repair has been working on a new batch of repro flybacks that shouldn't have any issues. And Mike from Mike's Amateur Arcade Monitor Repair has been testing them, and they work, but they need like a mod, like a cap added to the chassis, like across, I don't know, the one of the video voltages to smooth it out. So hopefully soon we'll get a good batch of Sharp Nintendo flybacks, so I can put it into this and bring that fully back to life, and then rejuve the monitors, and then hook up the light gun that I got for it. But yeah, any other games you guys? I mean, like Liam, you've dipped your toe into the wild world of Laserdisc games, so, and those are also notorious.
Well, I haven't gotten it working yet fully, so I can't tell you if it's unreliable once fixed. The Philips Laserdisc players are documented as unreliable, and the reason for that is the magnets are used to aim the mirror for adjusting the playback of the machine. The adhesive degraded in the mirrors, the magnets would fall off the mirrors and get stuck to the containers that they're in. And I can tell you from the 3 players that we have, every one that I opened up had all those magnets failing. So that has been what I've been repairing. My lovely wife has designed a jig that is used to repair those magnets and the assemblies they're connected to. And that jig has worked so far in putting together replacement assemblies. So hopefully I can get maybe 2 players working. I think I've got 1. And obviously the Amplifone raster monitor is garbage. The flyback is instant failure, red dead, as they would say. But of the games that I have working or have had working at any time, the most unreliable one in our collection is not Tempest. Our Tempest is actually quite reliable, I think. It is Tron. Tron is very choosy about when it wants to work. I'd say roughly half the time when turn it on, it won't. It'll just come up with the blue screen of I'm not ready to boot. And it'll hang there for anywhere between 30 seconds and 5 minutes before it'll just spontaneously turn on, and then it'll be fine, usually. I don't know what that is. I couldn't tell you. I've replaced the battery system. I've replaced the entire power supply. I cut the harness 2 feet up to remove any corrosion and soldered in whole new current harness cables and connectors, and had the boards repaired by CD Jump. I just, no idea. I replaced the suitcase capacitors, all 3 of them, replaced every single fuse holder. It's just something's up with that machine. Maybe it's the power in our house, 140-year-old house, terrible power systems. Maybe it's just not getting enough voltage. I have no idea. Hopefully when we move it, it gets a little bit more reliable, but probably the opposite will be true.
So
How about the rest of you guys? Any issues with unreliable games?
Not with my own collection. The only game I have right now that doesn't work is my DDR, and that's because I stole the monitor out of it for another game, and I just haven't replaced it yet. So unless you have the step charts memorized, it's going to be real hard to play any songs on it. To speak earlier of the unobtainable flybacks, there actually is a part I'm looking for. I need a flyback for a 27-inch MacVision monitor chassis with the TriSync one. So if anyone got one of those lying around, I'll let your boy.
Well, Steve
I have a-
mentioned, he mentioned Sharp Image, right? Big CRT repair shop in Vegas. Maybe they have one of those.
I actually have a brand new MacVision, new old stock, 27-inch sitting in my garage in box.
Okay,
Never-
yeah, I need that thing you just said.
I just recently picked up a Trisync 27 as well. I think it was in the Now chassis.
So yeah, I can repair that and put it back in the DDR and have a DDR again.
So none of my games, I only got into this in 2020, and pretty much everything I've got now, I've gone through to some degree, and I don't think there's just been enough time for these to prove themselves to be reliable or not. I can't think of a single time since getting these all going that they've actually failed to work. But my cat just opened the door. So I haven't had a time when they have failed to work, but I could see that not being the case in the future, because when I got these, like, so many problems they've had that related to just tiny specific components going bad, and there are hundreds of other tiny specific components on those things, and I'm just waiting for the capacitor kit on Arcade Shop. It comes with a resistor now, and I'm thinking at some point that capacitor kit's going to come with like 10 diodes, a transistor, and maybe some sort of IC at some point.
Yeah, for me, it's something new every month, but reoccurring problem outside of stuff that just doesn't work. Reoccurring issues right now is Star Wars. It keeps rebooting. I replaced the big blue, all the fuses, power supply, everything. I've researched. I think it's because it's got the multi in it. I think that's the problem. Sometimes it works for days, and then sometimes you turn it on and it just starts resetting and you don't know why. And before that, I had a lunar lander, and it took me 9 months to get it working again, or because it was doing jagged stuff on the screen. I reached out to everybody on Clav, and I took the board set that was having the problem. I took it to a buddy who had a lunar lander, worked fine there. Took it back here, it doesn't work. I don't know why. It works fine on another lunar lander, doesn't work on this one. So eventually I had another board set, swapped it in, and it started working, and I sold it to a friend of a friend. And now he loves it, man. And it's beautiful, and it was awesome. And I'm sad to have lost it, but I was so fed up with troubleshooting that thing that I wanted to sell it. And I regret it now, but yeah, that's vectors, man. Tough.
Yeah, I've got another one. Our Seeberg jukebox, 1957 Seeberg KD200. It chews up 2050 Thiotrons like nobody's business, and I can't really figure out a way to fix that. It turns out it's some kind of prototype or one-off from Seeberg. It doesn't actually have KD200 internals in it, even though that's what it looks like. It's got some weird other thing. In either case, there's that tube that's used for a pulse amplifier, so that when you hit a key, it makes a selection, and it kills those tubes in about 9 months. So I just replaced them.
Yeah, I know what some of those words mean.
It chews up its own insides and spits them out.
That doesn't sound very sustainable.
No, I'm trying to find a solution to it, but I can't go without my music.
That's what I'm going to start telling people when they're like, well, what was wrong with my game? Well, it chewed up its insides and spit them back out. So I fixed that. You're welcome.
No, Liam, you can just throw like a Raspberry Pi in there and put some like 8-bit MP3s on it. You don't need all that.
Yeah,
old...
do some Bluetooth stuff. People love that.
Dude, Bluetooth sounds so much better than vinyl.
I've always
All
kind of wanted to troll people and say, like, show a Paperboy and talk about how you're going to put a Raspberry Pi in it. I've never done it, but I want to.
So hear me.
The
I know
only game
Paperboy's
that we
not on the
have-
60 and 1, but 60 games is a lot better than 1, right? So put one of those in there.
Exactly.
Play him with the handlebars.
Yeah.
You
The
can play
only
that.
game that we've got that doesn't have an original board in it is our Robotron. We've got a J-Rock, but every other game has got
Hey,
one.
It's the next best thing.
Yeah.
I
It
now
is.
have the unquenchable desire to play Zaxxon in a paperboy cabinet.
Oh man, you'd make some
Defender,
people
man.
on Caleb really angry.
Oh. We got another question. This one came from Jumping General. Jumping General asks, in general, no pun intended, how do you guys have your games plugged in? Do you have a power strip? So I'm happy to go first with this one. So I've experimented with a couple different things. I do like to have them all on surge protectors just because you never know, right? So the 4 games here are all on a surge protector, which also gives me a switch to turn them on and off. The 2 pinballs and the play choice are on a different switch. And as is the Donkey Kong Juniors on another power strip. They're all really on the same circuit because there's really only one circuit in this room. And with these games, I'm right up on the limit of the number that I want to put on a single circuit. In the kids' playroom, the NBA Jam and the Centipede are on a different power strip. That's a different circuit, though. That's a different, I think, a 20 amp circuit in that room. And then the garage, the games are on a power strip, the ones that are working in there, and the ones at my office at work. I got one game over there. I've also experimented with like smart plugs, right, where you can hook it up to your assistant. I won't mention the names here because I don't want my devices to wake up or anybody listening their devices to wake up. I have had issues with that though, right? So when the repro flyback died in the play choice, it was because the game was left on for 48 hours and I didn't know it, right? So I've got small children and they like to say, hey, whatever, play me some music or something like that. And I think either intentionally or otherwise, they said something that was interpreted as a command to turn this on. And I wasn't down here, I hadn't, I'm in here every day, for working from home for work, but so it had run for 48 hours. And I'm dumb, but I've put it back on, and these are still on that switch, and as is the Donkey Kong Junior Cocktail. But the games over here I don't have on a smart speaker or a smart plug anymore because I'm worried about vectors being left on for way too long and the nonsense that can happen there. So the only way that these machines can be turned on is physically by turning on the strip. Liam, I know you've done quite a bit with this. You've got a lot of home automation experience.
Let me take it from there. So yes, I probably have the most complicated game power on system. Every one of our games is individually hooked up to its own smart switch. So sometimes there's a smart power strip for tightly clustered games or a smart switch for an individual game placement. And each of those switches are hooked up through Home Assistant. Some of them are Wi-Fi, some of them are Zigbee. And I have a control panel I've made in Home Assistant that allows me to individually turn on any of the games. I do have my vectors plugged into this because the other thing that you can do with it is set basically notifications or inactivity timers. So if you got a game left on too long, you can shut it off or let you know, or you can go see it. I have a stats page for my arcade games on there. It'll show me what's been on, when it's been on, how long it's been on. And I've got that tracking the last 24 hours in the last month. It'll give me the energy they consume. The other things it does is I have a button that'll turn on the whole arcade. I have a button that'll turn off the whole arcade. I've got one on the wall, so it's a physical switch. And I also have one little fun thing is a shuffle button. So when my wife and I can't decide what we want to play, just hit the shuffle button and it'll select a random game and turn it on. And then we can go from there. So generally, I've been pretty pleased with that system. There's no voice assistant, so I don't have to worry about anything turning it on accidentally. But yeah, the smart switches definitely make it really easy. The other thing is I have a out of order mode, so I've got a little grid toggle that I can turn them all off. If something's disabled, it'll skip it in any of the automations, so it won't attempt to turn it on. It's basically user lockout until it's fixed. So pretty pleased with that.
Well, and Frog Puppet, I think it was Frog Puppet, was talking about how John from John's Arcade had outdoor rated switches, but I think he had like, they were meant for pools, right? Like big red sort of, he had 4 20-amp circuits supporting the 30 some odd games he had in the basement. And every year for his, year in review, he would show how that worked. And he had like diamond plate on the wall and then these 4 switches that I think were really for like pools, like an outdoor master switch to like turn on a swimming pool that he used. Kay, in the workshop, right, where you've got dozens and dozens and dozens of projects, how many have you ever turned on at once, and what kind of power do you have going there?
So usually I don't keep machines on when I'm not in the shop unless it's something that I just, just did a repair on or I'm currently working on. Leave it on to stress test it, especially ones that I just rebuilt the monitor on. I want to leave those on, for a couple of days, turn them off and on a few times while I'm there and make sure that they stay reliable before I put them up for sale. But for the most part, I don't tend to leave a lot of machines running at any one time. Sometimes, like most of the machines I have for sale are usually just all in a row, all on the same power strip, and I can just plug that in. We'll leave them all on for a little while just to continue to test them. But I usually don't have more than 5 or 6 machines at a time, because by the time I get something else ready to sell, something else is already out the door. So usually, even when I'm in the shop and I got everything running that I want, I rarely have more than 5 or 6 games. The thing about my warehouse is half my plugs don't work, and it's a very open-ended warehouse, and so I just have extension cords running various places that are hooked up to surge protectors. So there's a lot of trip hazards in my shop. I don't recommend you go there, and I'll be liable if you trip over stuff.
Do you have a sign that says this workshop has had how many days without an accident?
No, because it's just me in there. So any accident was my own dumb fault. No one ever walks into my shop unless it's someone who made an appointment to come look at something, or if I left the door open and someone wanders in and asks if I want to buy burritos or something.
And of course, the answer is yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything like Liam does. I wish I did, but I keep it in zones. So I have like a Bluetooth dongle connected to a power strip that I can turn on certain zones of the arcade. And then troublesome games or games I don't want running, like Star Wars or Tron, I have separate dongles for those specifically. But the biggest problem with those dongles is if you have 20 in a room, it causes an issue, or they won't respond, at least the ones I'm using. So that's what I do.
Yeah, the other thing I forgot to mention there was somebody asked about how many can you turn on at once. The other benefit to this type of automation is that I turn them on when I hit the turn everything on button. It'll do them once every few seconds. It'll turn on a game to try to mitigate the inrush current on a specific circuit.
Yeah, JAWN, John on the clubs servers, he told me that it's best not to turn everything on at once, because if you do, it'll send a flag to the power company and they'll think that you're running a business or something. I don't know if that's true, but that's what he said. I thought it was interesting.
The issue that I was anticipating was the inrush for powering up a CRT.
Yeah. Well, I've seen the lights in the house phase in and out if you turn on too many at once.
Well, and they've got the new, and I've been through a ton of this recently. The power companies now have newer meters, like for reading your usage, and the older ones have a flywheel built, like they're a mechanical meter that have a flywheel, and it takes them a moment to, like, as when you have sort of an inrush, a momentary spike in demand, it takes them a little bit of time to spin up to it. The newer ones don't have a flywheel, and so they are more, you can think of it as their sampling rate is smaller. So people have seen that have had their meters replaced by a newer digital meter. have seen their prices or their bills go up because the meters are more accurate, and the older ones will miss, like as you turn things on, like turn on a TV, like there's a momentary spike, kind of like this inrush that Liam's talking about. So the newer ones are more accurate. So if you have the ability to say no, you might be doing yourself a favor.
Yeah, mine's one of the newer ones that reports over radio. I've got a little antenna listening to it so I can see it in my dashboard. But that's about it.
Let's see. How about any deals lately? And we got about 10 minutes left. Any deals you've seen lately that were particularly appealing? Like I was saying, I saw that $200 narc that I missed out on. So whether or not you scored that deal, any incredible deals you've seen lately? And the reason I ask is, you know, something I hear all the time, and I know we've got some folks in here, and I'm not trying to offend anyone, right? You know, that are into like arcade one-ups and that sort of thing, is, you know, notwithstanding, you know, really expensive high-end stuff like a Blasted or a Night Slashers or something like that. But a lot of folks think that, you know, full size, you know, classic coin-op machines are just so expensive and so far beyond the reach of most people price-wise, right? And while that might be true if you're paying, you know, retail for a fully restored machine, or, you know, you're buying something from K that is worth saving up for, right? But sometimes you can, like I think most of us, you know, for the most part, we're not outlaying, you know, massive amounts of money to go out and get these games. So, you know, you have to be fast and you have to be lucky, but those $200 narcs are out there. So anything that you've all seen lately that's that was particularly a good deal?
I'll just go real quick. My buddy up the street, there was a working road blasters. He got it for free on Craigslist here in Vegas. And then there was a $800 Tempest. I know I mean, 800 is not a great deal, but it's a Tempest.
Is it working?
I don't know. I didn't investigate it, but I mean, it looked nice. And then, you know, there was a Time Crisis one that popped up recently. The best deal I've gotten in Vegas was a Killer Instinct 2 for $300 working, like legit nice. So yeah, there's deals out there. Patience is a virtue in this hobby, man.
We pulled an Asteroids Deluxe a couple months ago out of an abandoned house for $75. It'd been sitting for 20 years. And we got it working. It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous now. Not a trace of burn on that monitor because it hasn't been used. So very happy with that. I think that's probably the best deal that we've successfully got, other than a free Space Invaders. But yeah,
Free is always good.
I haven't seen any deals.
No.
That's
Well,
all
I was talking with Cam, right? So I've been on a bit of a tear this year. And like I said, I got 4 more games pickups that I need to do pickup videos for. And 2 of them I got for free, right? And these are pretty good, like, you know, and I still have not, I haven't even turned them on yet, right? And I think Liam,
yeah,
did
you
you
owe me
see
for
that
this
first?
one. I sent it
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah, you saw it, and it was this is the
Because it was right next to you. It wasn't
Right,
anywhere
so
near me.
I have this spreadsheet where I track everything, right? Every game that I've bought, who I got it from, where I got it from, the date, price, everything, right? And the serial numbers and the model of the monitor and this and that, right? So these are the only 2 games that I got in April, and I don't have anything planned for the rest of the month. I got both of these games for free, and they were the closest pickup to my house. And I live only 40 miles away from Coin-Op Warehouse and Coin-Op Amusements, which is pretty great. But these were even closer than that. These were 2 games, 33 minutes away from my house. Ran out, grabbed them, and they were they were listed as empty, just empty cabinets with nothing. Turns out they were both complete games with monitors, with PCBs, with everything. And the seller gave me a spare tube and I think a couple of other things too. One of them was a game that I had wanted. One of them was is a rotary game with rotary joysticks. And pretty great. So there are, and like, but I'm gonna have to put work into these, especially to turn them into what I want them to be. But there are deals out there. And
Was it a Cal 50?
what's that? No, because that's the weird green one, right? The green joystick.
I don't know if you're probably right, but yeah, that game is super cool, man.
No,
Never
because
seen that pop up.
the one I got has the normal yellow SNK rotary joysticks.
Yeah.
But there's apparently a green version that is like an optical version of that, and those, like, the joysticks go for like $1,000 for a
$1,000.
pair.
Yeah. I saw that
Yeah.
somebody posted on Club the other day. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the deals are out there. But I've been on a bit of a tear this year, and I was talking, and roundabout to what I was saying earlier, Jeremiah. I was talking with Cameron, who's out in Nashville, and apparently he's been seeing like a dry patch out his way too. There's just not much popping up. I know he scored a Battlezone Cabaret pretty recently, which is cool. And then also that was right before he got featured in the local news. I don't know if you guys all saw this. There's a local news, I guess Channel 5 in Nashville or something like that, did a little segment on the resurgence of coin-op video game collecting and stuff. Nashville's got quite a few nice arcades. There's Game Galaxy, which is a giant warehouse with like 400 games. There's Game Terminal, which is like a huge barcade of like really, really nicely restored games. There's Up and Down. I've done like video tours of all these. I went to Nashville recently. And so, yeah, they did a local segment, and they interviewed Cameron in his game room in front of his games with like that brand new to him Battlezone Cabaret in the background. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, let's see. Anything else going on here in the live chat?
So yeah, I've got one. The deal I picked up most recently was I bought 5 upright racing games. There's 3 Cruising Worlds and 2 Rush 2049 special editions, and they're all projects that need a little work. Like all the marquees have pretty much disintegrated from heat, but they all boot up, and since the batteries are bad, once you go through the calibrations, they'll all play. But I need to rebuild some monitors and stuff like that. But I bought them all for $150 a piece, and once I get them working and do the cosmetics, they should all be all decent looking machines, and link them together and have some racing games.
Hey, I've got the monitor you need, man. Brand new in box, never been used. So if you want to talk trades, hit me up.
I'm down.
I've been looking for a Trog, man.
Oh, the Trog I have is to repair for someone else. So I can't.
Okay.
I can't do anything with that.
I gotta throw it out there.
Yeah, speaking of trades, if you're willing to part with that Smash marquee you pulled up earlier.
You can have that. Just pay for shipping it. It's an original marquee. I put a reproduction in there because the art's a little faded, but it's a legit one. You can have it.
Oh, wonderful. I'll get with you later then. Thank you.
Yeah, just text me that you can have it, man. I'm not going to use it. It's better with you. It'll just collect dust here.
Thanks. I really appreciate it. I'm looking
problem.
forward to pulling our Smash back from the grave.
Dude, it's Smash TV, one of the greatest of all time.
Charlie, you're muted.
Yeah.
I've been sharing all these awesome quips and everything. I was just saying that well, one, for the monitor that Kay needs, Vegas and West Texas aren't that far apart. Just sort of saying. Jeremiah, thank you for not falling asleep. I know you've been battling that, and I was waiting for the screen capture so that we could memeify you. And I was just going to say, Stringer Films has listed a bunch of great deals that they've been able to score. Space Invaders for 300, Getaway Pinball 500, awesome. Pac-Man 400, Galaga 200's great. Some great deals there. NBA Jam for 500. I got my NBA Jam for 300. So there's definitely deals out there, especially if you're willing to get your hands dirty and learn how to use a soldering iron and learn how to Google for help and ask questions and that sort of thing. Jumping General just picked up a Street Fighter 2 and a Joust cabinet for $50. Liam, was this the one that you were looking at?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
No, $50 is a great deal. No PCB, unfortunately, but Yeah, so we're coming up right at an hour. I think that's a great place to cut this off. So for everyone that's joined in the audience in the live chat and the live stream, thank you so much. I think we hit 33 concurrent viewers, which is our best so far. And I know for a fact it's the audience that Steve Laity was able to draw with them, as well as some of our friends out there. She Lion from She Lion Gaming, Jade, thanks for help spreading the word. Also, I think it's Dan from Outrun the Neon Sun and others. Thanks for spreading the word. And Darren was telling folks about us. So thank you all for joining. We always have a lot of fun with all of you in the live chat. This will be available to watch afterwards when the live stream ends. You can watch the on-demand video on YouTube after that. And also we post the audio version of the podcast on all popular platforms. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, iHeartRadio, all of that stuff. So again, thanks everyone in the audience for joining us. Thank you, Jeremiah, Liam, Kay, and especially our guest, Steve Laity, who you can find at Kotru311, Mosaic Arcade. He's on Twitter, he's on Clov, he's on Facebook. Great guy. Thanks again for joining us and sharing your story. And again, if anybody else involved in any side of that issue wants to come on and share their side, we're happy to have you. And I think, let's see if I can get the outro to work. We'll try this one time. So I'm Charlie from Overtime Arcade. Thanks for listening or watching to the episode 3 of the Coin Jam podcast. And if I can get this to work, we'll play the outro music and we'll see you next time. How about now?